Hey, Jan,
Hey Adam,
how's it going?
it's going great. I'm
Awesome.
living the life out here on the side of the road, relying on noise canceling.
Yeah, you're actually enjoying the outside weather, so
That's
you
right.
must not be in Phoenix, was where I was getting at.
Not this time of year. I'm in California at the moment, in LA, where a bunch of secret stuff is happening, secret shellfish stuff that maybe you'll
Mm.
talk about in a future episode.
I mean, we could talk about at a high level, maybe I think that's,
At a high level, the super secret shellfish stuff is
I think you just hit on it. This is the
I
title of
yeah,
the ups and downs of shellfish. So why don't you talk about the ups a little bit? Just at a high
that's right.
level without any technical details, right?
Yeah,
Don't want
current
to.
ops at a high level. We'll go into this in kind of a future episode.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, there is this event happening called the AI Cyber Challenge. The AIxCC is the acronym. If you haven't heard about it, or if you just emerged out of I don't know, no technology retreat for the last year or so,
Yeah, you might
um,
have, but if you are a frequent listener of this podcast, you heard about it. Perry Adams actually talked to about it when we interviewed her after the DEF CON last year in
that's right.
2023. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, our season finale and season premiere last year uh, was I had touched on it briefly, and now we're kind of touching on it again. Am I coming through fine? You're kind of choppy on my end.
You're coming through great. Just keep
Okay,
talking
perfect.
because it records
Cool.
it
So,
locally, so
oh
don't
yeah,
worry
that's
about that.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So, anyways, last year Perry mentioned the AI Cyber Challenge as something that was about to happen. Now it's actively in the process of happening. So for the last several months, teams around the world have been really pushing hard on building an AI powered. And when people say AI nowadays, of course, it's large language models
It's
uh,
the only type of
powered.
AI. It used to be ML, and now it's AI.
That's right. It used to be ML, then it became LM. Um, yeah, large language model powered hacking engines as kind of a successor to the Cyber Grand Challenge, spiritually speaking. In the Cyber Grand Challenge, we've talked about this before on the show. We As Shellphish built a cyber reasoning system, an autonomous hacking agent that was able to reason about uh, the security of binary software in terms of finding bugs and making patches to defend the software.
And
And
automatically
now,
exploiting them, which is, I think, a key
that's
difference.
right, automatically exploiting. Now, AICC has kind of moved this forward in a big way in terms of trying to tackle using the assistance of this new crop of artificial intelligence. Um, these massive, complex pieces of software that aren't, the smaller programs that our cyber reasoning system saw in the CyberGrand Challenge, but are, real things like the Linux kernel or one uh, uh, new example challenge that just came out like in the last hour was Nginx.
Oh
Real
my
pieces
god.
of software that power actual internet infrastructure that now we're finding bugs in and fixing bugs
So
automatically.
not
Anyways,
like a toy hangman program written for a toy operating system that only has nine some system calls that you have to model.
yeah, don't diss Eagle 0005, but yeah,
Oh no, is the eagle like sea eagle? Like am I
that is
accidentally?
the Eagle.
Oh
Yeah,
great,
exactly,
great. Just no disrespect. Just
exactly.
showing the different level of like what types of complexity and scale that the AIXCC is targeting.
Yeah, for real. We're going beyond. I think the biggest AI CGC program that I can think of. Maybe we should. I mean, we will do an. This actually, for real, isn't the point of of this episode, but and we'll do a episode later on AICC, CGC, and so on. But the biggest binary that I remember from the CGC was like the source code was 2,000 lines of C, I think, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And here, right out of the bat, we have the Linux kernel, right? And managed to build systems that can find real bugs in the Linux kernel, which is wild. Um, Again, AI powered systems, fully autonomously finding this stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
finding and this time just patching. So finding, creating a patch, but not actually doing the exploitation.
mhm, that's right. Anyways, Shellphish is of course a more widespread team than we were back in the CDC days, and so part of the challenges here comes, their challenges in coordinating everything. And the one way right now that the team has addressed this challenge is by finding a big workspace in LA and gathering here for a couple of weeks to get this deliverable in better shape for the entry into the competition. And the final entry is due in like about a month.
Yeah.
And then about a month later is that, these systems run and actually like hack it out. So team gather here. It's here to mostly meme. I blew up an egg in the microwave today.
I was gonna say you actually were probably a net negative, I'd say, on this visit, but
It's always one of these things balanced on a knife edge. If that egg hadn't exploded and was instead a tasty hard boiled egg, it would have really helped the team out with any kind of residual hunger issues.
really, because it
But
sounds like it's
since
probably for you, an egg for you. So are you including yourself in the team and their hunger issues being reduced?
well, if the egg had worked out, we could have probably repeated the process.
Ah, I see.
But as the egg exploded, I think I got banned from the microwave.
Was
Or
it? Were you trying to hard boil an egg in the microwave? What was this process?
yeah, it should be pretty simple from a physics perspective. You take a cup, you put an egg in the cup, you fill the cup with water, and you put it in the microwave.
Are you absolutely out of your mind? What?
That's how you hard boil an egg. You boil water around the egg.
Correct.
It all makes
But also
sense.
not the egg itself, because the microwaves go into the egg, don't they?
The microwaves they go into the water and they warm the water. They don't make it into the egg.
Then why did your egg explode?
I don't know. I gotta admit right now, I didn't take any physics in college. I AP'd out of all the physics, and so my physics knowledge is extremely outdated. Maybe they've invented new physics since I've
To
taken
explain
physics.
cooking eggs in a microwave? Yeah, I think the explanation is don't. I think that's what like the or what you
That's
probably should have done is just put the water in there, boiled the water in the microwave, and then just put the egg in it, and in 10 minutes your egg would have been done or whatever.
You see, I think we need a contest on boiling eggs
This is why we make a good team.
without. Yeah, exactly. And so in the absence of insights such as this, I put the egg in the cup and I put water in the cup and I boiled it in the microwave and it all exploded. But I think it exploded because honestly, I don't know. Don't know what went wrong. But definitely what went wrong is
I mean, what
that
went
the egg.
wrong was you putting an egg into the microwave. I think that's very clearly what went wrong. And then
I,
just to
I
kick it off, because I know you're not going to tell this part, is then the worst part is you jumped into a meeting and had other students clean up your mess in the microwave while you were
no,
in the
that's not
meeting.
that's not fully accurate. I
Well,
cleaned
this
up
is just
the
my guess of what happened. I'm bet I'm 80% there.
mm, not this time, buddy. I would say that I definitely cleaned up about 70% of the mess.
All
Uh,
right, fair.
and then maybe the rest of the team jumped in to clean up the rest.
What good team members.
Anyways, we learned a lot about physics that maybe we didn't know before. Um, okay, so the point is
Of
that
AIxCC, and how does Shellphish fit into it? So we're not only fielding a team. I mean,
we're not only fielding a team.
many people are fielding teams.
Yeah, including
But
us.
correct. So there was an additional component to the AIxCC, which was a small business track award.
Oh, that's
So they
right.
had
That's right.
funding. This is why we're getting towards the ups of Shellphish.
The ops of Shell. That's right. So
Yeah.
one thing that briefly happened after the Cyber Grand Challenge was Shellphish won a total of $1.5 million. This was back in 2016, 2017. We really got to do a CGC focused episode about it. Because it was fun. I mean, imagine a ragtag team of hackers, mostly students, barely knew what we were doing, except for in our one little like corner of the world of binary analysis. And suddenly, this is the shit, right? And we have
Yeah,
a
writing
whole
database queries with no indexes. It was a little
exactly,
new frontier.
yeah, and Shellphish qualified for the CGC. For qualifying, there was a prize of $750,000. And then Shellphish won third place in the CGC, which came with another $750,000 prize. So total 1.5 million bucks, briefly making Shellphish the richest CTF team in the world. Which was super fun. We did all sorts of awesome team building. We almost drove a Jeep off a mountain in
And
Hawaii.
this isn't a royal we. This is a
That's me. That's
yeah.
that's
Just I want our
we.
reader or I want our listeners to understand.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend going off-roading with me in Hawaii.
I went off roading with you in Hawaii. You were very safe.
That's
I think
true.
that's because your wife was
Thank
with
you.
us. That's why.
Yeah, well, I was
And
also
you made me
older and
get out
wiser.
and cut my foot checking the depth of the water to make sure we could make it across.
Yeah, that was
No.
almost the inverse
Yeah,
because
not my
we were in a
smartest moment.
valley, not
Yeah.
not on the mountain. Yeah, but it's insane to me that people will just rent you an off-road capable vehicle.
Well, they
It's
make you
like
sign a
in
thing
Hawaii.
that says you will not go off road, and you do it anyways. Everyone does.
But you rent it and there's like covered in mud from previous people going
Yeah,
off-road.
exactly.
And not that I would break the rules like that,
Of course not.
but you know. Anyways, yeah, it was great. Shellfish was lived like rock stars, but then of course a lot of rock stars go bankrupt, and so
Yeah,
eventually,
because they don't have good
eventually,
plans in place of how to invest and spend their money. That's a great
exactly,
analogy, my friend.
eventually Shellfish squandered all of all of its
I
great
wouldn't say
wealth.
squandered. That seems incorrect. Spent all the money. The money was
And
eventually gone. And actually, it lasted a long time, I think. That was like 5, 6
yeah,
years.
so it probably started really running out. Yeah. That was 5 6 years ago.
Yeah,
Um, so we put it to good use.
there you go.
Kept us warm for a long time, but then it ran out, and so then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, shit. Now we need some new spending money, and as you said, the AICC started out with a basically a competition to kick it off um, around a cyber reasoning system design. So it was a competition to get teams to truly think hard about what they were going to build,
Right.
right?
With the goal
Wait,
of funding those teams and kind of jumpstarting, so at least there would be teams that are competing in the qualification of AIxCC that have had some investment made in them, and so it's not just people doing it in their free time or something like that.
that's right. Yeah, and we talked a lot about going to Hawaii as a team, etc. That was after the competition, right? During the competition, it was you know
Work, work, work.
supporting the competition. Um, so yeah, this kind of pre competition of the AICC, the CRS design, I thought it was actually extremely clever because all too often you sit down as a bunch of hackers and you want to build something crazy that has some completely new concept like an
Mm-hmm.
autonomous hacking system. You just start doing stuff, right? You go off and you start getting nerd sniped here and there by all sorts of different interesting things, and by the time the competition is like almost upon you, you realize, well, we never really had a very good kind of end to end, like
It doesn't
reasonable
actually
plan.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, and this actually almost it really bit us hard in the CDC in general. we kind of started out with a lot of nerd sniped directions. We're going to do this really cool binary analysis stuff, this really cool binary analysis stuff. And what really hampered us right at the end, more than anything else, was a lack of strategic planning
Mm-hmm.
that we didn't even get to because we were too busy with all the little cool hack
Because it's still a game
things.
you're trying to win, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And you can win games um, through a lot of careful approach to the rules, and you should carefully approach the rules. And so um, by uh, well, I think two things they actually did really well is they kept things fairly vague for that initial part. They said, "Hey, there's going to be a contest about using recent advancements in AI for the analysis of large open source, kind of
Real world.
infrastructure level software,
Yeah.
right?" And think about your approach and actually make it make sense and you know convince us. So it forced a lot of teams to really think about their approach, and I think we benefited quite a lot from it as a team.
Yeah.
And that instead of a more typical effort, uh, you know, Shellphish has this kind of end to end thing, and we should really do an
Yeah.
AICC and an episode and get the movers and shakers of maybe other teams as well. That would be really cool. But yeah, it was very interesting, and I have to give you props because you took that initial competition hyper seriously. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say that, you know, when I first saw it, I was like, all right, well, hey, we were like right up there on the CGC. Let's just like, say, hey, we were awesome on the CGC. We're gonna, well, I guess that is actually exactly what I, try to say. We just, and we focus on actually just doing, nerd sniping ourselves into
Mm-hmm.
the next set of things. And luckily, cooler heads prevail. Do you want to talk about your process in that?
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things that we haven't mentioned is that to be eligible for this, you had to actually have a small business. This was a small business prize, so the money was dedicated for small businesses. So we actually, as part of this, and kind of like what Jan said, and the other thing we haven't mentioned, I don't think, is that the prize money for the small business prize, this pre-funding was $1 million. And so you compare $1 million with what Shellphish got at the end of CGC by placing third was $1.5 million. So we said, this is a great thing. We should probably go do this. So, yeah, we kicked into gear, started a company, set everything up correctly, or at least I hope correctly. Yeah,
You'll
like
find out
created.
when tax season hits.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we created an entity. We came up with a name. We called it the Shellphish Support Syndicate. The idea being we didn't want to be like Shellphish Inc. Shellphish, as hopefully has come across in this podcast, we like to be very kind of we don't like that corporate imagery, and we didn't want Shellphish, this hacker collective, to be this company. So we tried to make the name very much say, hey, this is the goal of this company is to support Shellphish, right? Not be its own entity that's doing things. So yeah, we did that. We came together, we brainstormed ideas, and kind of came up with our vision for a cyber reasoning system that could actually integrate AI. And based on I think a lot of individual people's research, but also I think we had that really good pragmatic angle that Jan kept, talking about. Like we need something that works. Like something has to work end to end, otherwise we have no chance. And so, yeah, so we did all that. Wrote a what was it a 15-page, 20? It was a 25-page white paper. I won't get into all the details there because it was a crazy process in and of itself. That DARPA had stuff going on. So, but at the end of the day, the high of Shellphish, I said ups and downs. I think highs and lows is better. The high of Shellphish was we found out that we won. We were one of 7 teams, small businesses that won that $1 million prize. So we have been using that money wisely to invest in the team and doing what we need to do to compete in the Cyber Grand in the AIxCC. So,
Boom. Yeah,
yep.
and I think it's important. maybe we cut the AICC there after the. I think it's important
Mhm.
to point out, like, we're just kind of two washed up professors. The team
Oh yeah.
is much bigger, and it's the leadership of the team is you know the technical leadership is very awesome, skilled graduate students that
Oh yeah.
are
And this
gonna
gets into
knock
kind
this
of
out of
what
the park.
exactly and kind of what the goal of the company is. We want to be a support system for the team, right? So we're taking on all the management responsibilities, figuring out all the budgetary stuff with DARPA, getting the money, invest, like whatever, doing all of that, figuring out the company stuff so that the students can just build a great CRS and system, right? I mean, we provide, I like traditional professors, we provide advice where we can and try to help make sure things are going in the right direction. But honestly, they've needed very little from us. They're a great, well-directed team. We have, I think, on the order of 25-ish students and about 6-ish professors. So, um, yeah, great team, and I'm really excited about it.
And you know what's really special here is in the CGC we had two professors and everyone students, research interns, research engineers, etc. Here, like you said, we have six professors involved or whatnot. It's Chris and Giovanni from who were professors when we were doing the CGC, and
Mm-hmm.
then half of the rest of the CGC team will now become professors, and we're now leading our own
Yeah,
student, and that is super exciting. Um, it's wait, we have seven professors.
I
Anyways,
think I was
doesn't
trying
matter.
to just do it in my
Some
head, but
amount of
yeah,
professors.
yeah,
Um,
I said on the order of six, so that's what I.
exactly. We have a committee of professors. That's the plurality term, like a murder of crows committee of professors. Anyways, okay. Um, Yeah, and what's really awesome for me, and we've had several generations of Shellphish on this podcast and chatted with them about just kind of team history and all that. What's interesting to me really is that generational passing of the baton that Shellphish has undergone now 4 or 5 times, right? It was super cool. In that, you know, we're the movers and shakers of the last generation and the kind of inspirers maybe of this next generation. And then one day they'll pass the baton, and instead of the AICC, we'll have the next one, the I don't know, telepathic cyber challenge.
Yeah, who knows?
And
And now,
and
the crazy thing that I'm seeing is that the team had to. CGC was very binary focused, but some of the challenges in AIxCC are written in Java and are web applications. And so seeing the team rediscover, let's say, web applications and understanding that, I think has been very, very cool. And so, yeah, so that was in April of 2024. So that was, I think, the high of Shellphish. We were all super stoked. We had just, won $1 million prize. We're building this awesome CRS. And then DEF CON Quals comes around in May. It was in May, right? I'm trying to get my dates right. In May 2024.
yeah, first weekend I think,
Yeah, the first weekend in May. Yeah, so
maybe
it
second
started the
weekend.
3rd
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
5th. And I guess I will spoil it now so that people aren't waiting on bated breath. But this is the first time in a very long time that Shellphish has not qualified for DEF CON finals. And so this we can then transition from the high of winning AIxCC Small Business Prize and now the low of being, oh crap, we did not qualify for DEF CON CTF. Um, so, and I think actually we have the two of us have different journeys through DEF CON CTF 2024. So do you want to talk a little bit about your journey?
Yeah. For me, I mean, we've gone through like kind of my origin stories as a CTFer and your origin stories as a CTFer. Right? We've been CTFing for a long time, and for most of that time, for me, DEF CON Quals was the event of the year. Right?
The CTF.
Uh, yeah, I made relationship sacrifices. I've made professional sacrifices. I've made friendships. You name it. Like it was the thing that was kind of a non-negotiable. And as I we've often kind of talked about, like, CTF players. CTF players have a kind of a half-life,
The shelf
right?
life, yeah.
Where you have uh, while you're in school, while you're young and energetic and all of that, you play every CTF. You're very involved. You're constantly learning. You can't even imagine not playing a CTF one day, right? Definitely DEF CON quals. And then as people kind of grow up, about every 5 years or so, you lose half of your players to age, and not lose them, but they will develop careers and families and
Hmm.
so on. And uh, probably talk about this. One of the reasons that at least for me, for retiring from organizing DEF CON when we did, is because my second kid was born, and I just kind of looked realistically at the amount of family time that I had to
Oh,
miss.
oh, you looked real. I think I had to force you to look realistically at what that
All
would
right.
mean, man.
At some point, a realistic look was taken, and
And this is why the passive voice had so many sins.
exactly. And then it was like, okay, I mean, this was awesome. We were
Hmm.
glad we
Yep.
hosted it, et
Yep.
cetera. But it's time to stop. And this year was a very interesting year for me for DEF CON quals, because somehow, by some miracle, for the last 15 years or so, and of course, 4 of those years we controlled the scheduling DEF CON quals, so that's not impressive. But before that, for so long, DEF CON quals luckily did not overlap with this, but this year it did. There's a
Many people don't know. Speaking of eggs, there are two
That's right.
Easters.
See, we've been leading up to this the whole time. There are
You
two
think that was just
Easters.
a crazy tangent we had at the beginning, and like these guys don't actually plan this thing out, but you would
Yeah,
be correct, but you'd also be underestimating our abilities to tie disparate threads together.
exactly. This is what we do for a living.
I was actually going
Uh,
to say that as well. That's how you know you can get your PhD, when you can just tie
yeah,
those things together.
yeah, yeah. Building a base for cyber autonomy. Anyways, um, so the Easter thing. There are multiple different Easters. I'm sure there are more than two Easters, but
There's more than two? What? I have to look at this.
I'm sure there's like a million. Probably everyone has their own pet Easter.
I don't think it's quite like that, but let me look. Anyways, you keep going.
All right. So while Adam looks this up, Easter in the U.S. just shows up on a calendar like on a normal time, and it's just how it is. And it's easy to avoid scheduling your event over it, because people go crazy when you like schedule calls over Easter or Mother's Day. Not that anyone would ever do that, or so on. Or at least, if some idiot organizers did schedule calls over Mother's Day, they'd probably include a "Call Your Mother" challenge.
Yeah, that was our
Um,
bad.
anyways, that's one Easter. Uh, Half of the world celebrates Easter at a different time than most of the U.S. celebrates Easter, and so
Okay, I've looked it up. According to Wikipedia, there are it. It looks like five different or three different.
Jesus Christ, that's insane.
Well, that's right on the nose, actually. Um, yeah, there's different. There's like an astronomical Easter, a Gregorian Easter, and a Julian Easter. It's also in this table is like Passover and full moons. I don't know how those tie in, but maybe one's used to calculate the other. But anyways, yeah, crazy. I never knew Easter was this complicated, but please go
It's
ahead.
very complicated, man, and it's a massive pain for scheduling. And this year, DEF CON Quals was on the whatever Gregorian calendar for Easter, which is when my mother celebrates Easter, and traditionally we
Your
have
family.
always, yeah, my family, we've always done a family thing, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like something that just similar to DEF CON quals, I have basically not missed my entire life, right? Like not missed a week, one Easter. And so suddenly, I had to choose one or the other. And I also had to think about, okay, well, hey, now the kids, they're sentient enough to actually be forming memories about this. And are they going to be forming a memory this weekend of their dad out hacking away somewhere, or are they going to be forming a
Which
memory
is a not
of,
an anti-mem. You're gone, right? The memory
yeah,
is of you
yeah,
not
exactly.
being there, right? It doesn't really matter what you're doing. You're not there.
Yeah, or a family event where everyone's baking all weekend, Easter food and whatever, and my mom always drags me. This is my one religious event a year to church, and you know we luckily didn't take the kids. That would have been insane. 'Cause it's the middle of the night, and it's like anyways,
Is it midnight mass?
something like that. Yeah, it's starts at like 11 p.m. and like you get out at like 3 a.m. Yeah, it's crazy. And then
Oh my
you
god,
you
my
go
eyes are
home and you
bugging
eat
out of
all
my
the
head.
Easter food you made. It
At
and
3
so
a.m.? No wonder you're
3
so
a.m.
used to staying up late at like crazy hours, man. It's like built into your blood.
That's right. And now I have my like I'm not a young buck anymore. I gotta get heartburn if I eat an enormous amount of you know fatty food at 3 a.m. So like yeah, it's a anyway,
Is it like a
uh,
fasting thing? Are you fasting until then?
traditionally, man. I
Oh,
mean, yeah,
I'm just curious. I'm
yes, yeah,
trying to
yeah, yeah.
learn.
Sorry, yes, exactly. Traditionally, you do like whatever Eastern Orthodox equivalent of Lent, and so you're fasting for like 40 days, and then that's when the fast breaks. And so, if you're really with it, then I think you're even like fully vegan. So the Easter food is very like I mean, it varies widely, but
Hmm.
what we make is like rich cheese, sweet cheese stuff, and stuff like that is like you theoretically you didn't eat it for uh, for 40 days, but of course for for us secular people, it's just it's a cool tradition, right?
Yeah.
That's very something that it takes some work to maintain because like making sure okay this weekend we're all going to back home and blah 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 and depending on it's easy enough from Phoenix but I was doing this when I was in New York or whatnot in college and so on so uh anyways for I had this real I was really torn on what to do until very late. Like I was planning at one point on driving from Tucson to the lab and back. Like it would have been a complete shit show. So that like I'll do some quals and then I'll do this, or I'll do the Easter stuff and then like I'll hide in the bathroom and I'll do some hacking. Uh, and then I don't know had this the realization that I later immortalized in a tweet thread that in retrospect was a little it was an interesting situation. So I had the realization that I'm not going to be playing CTF forever. I mean that's just kind of a reality, empirical reality of most people. But you know I also won't be able to do this Easter stuff with my mom forever, and that's going to be a lot more painful when that's over. And so I was like, all right, that's it. We'll focus fully on the Easter situation. And I thought it was a very like deep insight. I made a Twitter thread about it, and then or a Mastodon thread. I'm sorry. And as I tweeted it,
Didn't you do both?
yeah, yeah, I do
You're like
both.
the only person still using Mastodon, but go
No
ahead.
one, yeah, yeah, I know, but it's the moral thing to do.
Okay.
But
Cool.
of course, you also want people to read your stuff, so you cross post it to Twitter.
Exactly. That's kind of my point. You can do whatever morally you want, but if ain't nobody there,
So as I let loose the tooth
yeah.
thread, I had this realization that actually now I've created a fucked up situation where if Shellphish doesn't qualify, it's gonna be like, well, of course, Zardus wasn't playing, so that
And of
wasn't my
course,
intention. But
that's his ego talking, of course, because he's saying that, of course, if he had played, he would have been the difference maker and Shellfish would have
okay,
qualified. This is all beforehand.
I think I think I could claim this, but that's because it was so close.
No, no, now you can after the fact, but you even thought about this beforehand. You were like,
Mm,
oh no, people are going to
that's
see.
it.
I was joking about your ego, but you were just putting yourself in the shoes of somebody else of being like, oh, he's
Yeah,
like publicly pre-committing that he's not playing this CTF. That
yeah, that's
way, if the team fails, everyone will know publicly that it wasn't his fault. It was the rest of the team's fault.
I think that part of it, I should have thought through a little bit more. Maybe I could have tweeted a hash. Well, that's the same thing.
No,
I don't
I
know.
don't think it was. I think it was
Yeah,
honestly. I thought it was. I don't know if it's something that I, young students will understand at 18, 21, 22.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I definitely wouldn't have. I would have been like, that's stupid. You should just you should play CTF, man. You should do what
yeah,
you want. This is
yeah.
something that, because you look at that, it's something that you love and something that you've been doing such a long time. Like, you always think, there'll be other Easters, there'll be other things like whatever. You'll see, you can go the next weekend or the weekend before, right? But like, you as an older wizened person know that like A, those things don't last forever, and B, it's not the same, right? It's like that the family, like those things. And plus now you have kids, so you're thinking like, well, I want to make memories with the kids of these things, so you're passing on the traditions through them. So no, I think it was a great thing to do, and that's also
Yeah,
why we're
and
talking about it now in public.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's so interesting, man. People tell you like, okay, enjoy it while it lasts, because you'll blink and they'll grow up, and the risk of like gearing up, it's so true. It's insane.
They've already growing
It's
up. It's insane. It's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah. Anyways, they're not even my kids, and I feel similarly. I'm just like, what is happening? You guys are growing up so much. One of you used to not be able. I was there when freaking Finn was first starting to walk, and now he's
yeah,
freaking talking, and it's just
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Um,
It's wild. It's wild. And you know, we should do actually a different episode about getting kids into hacking. 'Cause there are these like little like computer engineering for babies books and
mhm.
so on, and of course there are people in the security community that write kids books for like baby books about hacking and stuff. So
Mhm.
we should that's a right idea for an episode. But anyway, so that was my quals weekend, full of tasty Easter food and family times. And then at one point, and it's the weirdest thing, I've missed one DEF CON since I started going. So I started
Hmm.
going DEF CON 9, and I missed DEF CON 12 or 13.
Mhm.
No, DEF CON 14, I think I missed.
Wow.
Um, and no, DEF CON 13. Yeah. And so, and it was insane how normally DEF CON is a weekend long extravaganza, celebration of hacking, et cetera, et cetera. It's like such a big event, especially to high school me.
Mhm.
Um, and suddenly we went, I didn't go for a weekend for 1 year. And the weekend of DEF CON was just a normal weekend. And it didn't take the mental space of like a month of time suddenly. It was just a normal weekend. I looked and it was Saturday, and then I looked and it was Sunday, and DEF CON was over. And just and so Quads was kind of like that this year, right?
Hmm.
It was we're baking with the fam, and then we're out on a walk with the kids at a park, and then the weekend is over. And
Right.
I look, and everyone is like 12th place, and it wasn't quite what was needed.
Yeah, so that's one of the kind of interesting things. So we can talk going into it. So going into it, we knew that there were, if I remember correctly, there were like 3 teams that had pre-qualified. You had the winners of last year, MMM. Yeah, 3, right? So
I think
MMM
4 teams
or
pre-qual.
4 teams pre-qualified.
Hmm. I think, yeah, three. What?
Anyways,
Some. Yeah.
whatever. A certain amount of teams pre-qualified. One of the teams who I want to talk to is the Korean teams that were one of the ones who dominated the speedrun challenges way back in when we were hosting DEF CON. But yeah, so that was so we knew we probably, and then it's very complicated with CTF teams because there's mergers and unmergers, and so
Hmm.
if a merger team pre-qualled but one of the other teams qualled in DEF CON quals, how would that work? And so we were trying to target like top 10. So it turned out at the end, we got 12th place, which was actually, a great showing. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the top 12 that played that event. But unfortunately, there was only 12 that were qualified for DEF CON itself. So the way it worked out with,
Including the pre-qualified.
including the pre-qualers, exactly, including the 4 pre-qualers. So the way it worked out was we were essentially on that list 14th. So there were like 2 teams above us that had not pre-qualled. So that pushed us down into the alternate list. So if any teams are out there and want to not play DEF CON CTF, I guess we will happily take over your spot. Just let us know. And no, I'm kidding, but if you want to do that, we will happily take that spot. Like, we have no qualms about.
Wait, hold on. It's possible that I need all that hacker power for DEF CON.
You got to deal, man.
Damn.
We can rotate out or something. It's like a free DEF
That's
CON. You
true.
don't
That's
have to
true.
go so
Yeah.
ham on it. So yeah. So anyways, and actually, so I have a similar-ish story to you, where I played DEF CON. So I played Friday, Saturday, and it was a really fun competition. Maybe we can get into it a little bit. What I really liked is one of the first challenges was modeled off, and this is the thing I love about CTFs, when challenges take, like, rip things from the headlines and those kind of things and make a challenge around them and challenge you to find that thing. So this was the libxz backdoor that was found. This was a major news event where somebody had, over, like, was it 5 years, 3 years, had gotten into this software system and then inserted a backdoor that gave them, essentially on certain machines, SSH access into your machine, which is absolutely wild. And so Nautilus actually took that and created a challenge in a different thing, but around using the same ideas and the same concepts to see how, and that was the challenge that they launched with. So that was kind of really cool. It was like one challenge getting us started on that. So yeah, I played Friday and Saturday, but I actually had a similar situation kind of to Jan, and it's a little sad, so I'm not going to get into it too much, but yeah, I had a funeral to attend on that Monday, and so I was actually, and this is after you had posted your thread, and I was looking at flights, and I was like, okay, on Sunday, like, there's a flight, and where I was going was, there's not really many direct flights. It's kind of a not a super popular destination, and so I was flying right from Phoenix, and I'm like, okay, well, I can leave at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or something and go several hops and maybe get in at like midnight or 1 a.m. or something like that, or I can take the 10 a.m. direct flight and get there right. And I kind of sat there and like looked at it, and I was like, man, if I do this later flight that allows me to actually play all of DEF CON, and that then causes me to miss a flight or I get delayed or
Yeah.
something, like, I will like hate myself. And so I chose deliberately to get that earlier flight. And I also chose deliberately because I was also thinking, like, well, I can get there. Yeah, I can't work on the plane, but maybe like when I get there, I'll just like hole up in my hotel room and just like do DEF CON stuff. And I was like, it's not really how I want to spend this time. Like, I want to spend this time with family, right? Like, I'm here, like, that's kind of the point of all this stuff. And so I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
nope, I signed, like, I was like, Sunday, I'm done, guys. Sorry, I gotta go. And I'd say the team was super amazing and very supportive of that. But yeah, it was in the back of my head. I was kind of like, I didn't know what was going to happen. Kind of like you, I
Yeah.
got there, got sucked up in family stuff, and then checked at the end, and I was like,
Yeah.
shit. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
As I'm, you
A
know,
lot of complex feelings with
oh
that
yeah,
check, right? It's like,
yeah,
because you know
exactly.
you did the right thing, and you know, but you think, okay, is it is it my fault that the
Oh,
team didn't qualify? You know,
yeah,
it's
you can't help
yeah.
thinking that. And it's like this insane, such like that's why I was teasing you about the ego because I knew it would come
Mm-hmm.
back here with me because I
Mm-hmm.
felt very similarly. I was like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, if I was there on Sunday, because uh, one of the things is Shellphish kind of has a history of getting
Mm-hmm.
things towards the end, and I looked this up. We were like 80 points away from qualifying
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking with the team afterwards and there were like 3 challenges that we were all super close on, and it's just none of those solves came in before the
Yeah.
deadline, when in the past
Yeah.
we have gotten solves 30 minutes 15 minutes to the deadline, like crazy. Like I've
30
been there with,
seconds. 30
yeah,
seconds. We
that
have it
that
on
was
YouTube.
also that's an insane thing. I wasn't there for that, so I didn't want to talk about
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
directly,
Yeah.
but I've been on things where we're stuck on some JavaScript challenge and Paul jumps on and starts like, well, have you looked at like this thing? And we start, and then boom, that unlocks us and
Yeah.
we are able to solve it. Um, and so, you can't help but thinking like, well, but maybe if I was there, I could have been one to like, bam, like get us there. And we were literally one solve, with the way the scores all worked out,
Oh
one
yeah.
solve away of getting there. But, but actually, you know, I think that a little bit, but actually several people, so my cousin and my brother, actually their flights were delayed getting to the location and they missed the funeral. And so like I was like, I very clearly made what I think was the right,
Yeah.
obviously,
Absolutely.
decision in retrospect. Like I'm
Yeah.
very happy that I made that decision. But yeah, it's so that's why we're talking, this is like the low of Shellphish, right? So then the team kind of had to be like, well, crap, and then like I think it's very natural if you're on a CTF team or you've ever been a part of a group of people that's failed, to do something. I think sports teams, these kind of things, right? You're all kind of like shit. And depending on what level you are, if you're a leader in the team, you think, well, this is my fault. Maybe I should have told the team to do this instead of this, or maybe I should have been pushing more in this direction. But honestly, I think all that stuff you can't really like. It's hard to you won't get this reference, but Monday morning quarterbacking is a term of like where so traditionally football's played on a Sunday. So Monday morning, you're saying like, well, as a quarterback, I would have done this or made this throw or this thing, right? And it's super easy to say what you would have done after the fact when you can see what everything, where everything laid out. But you just can't know that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think some good things definitely that I've seen is it like caused a lot of self reflection in the team. I think the
Mm-hmm.
team was super depressed. I was actually a little bit hesitant to even do this episode talking about this stuff publicly because I was like, man, Jan, this is just gonna be a super bummer of an episode. Because like, no offense, but you kind of have this thing of like, well, I wasn't there, so like
Well, hey, so do
a
you.
little bit. Yeah, I sure, but like I was there for 2 days and I didn't do anything. I
And you
tried
got
to.
them almost there. You got them
Yeah,
almost to the
exactly,
fish
exactly.
line.
I tried to freaking reverse engineer this insane C++ Dean Zone crap that our friend, God, what's a good handle for him so we don't actually say his real thing? Uh,
Dean man.
Dean Man. Yeah, there you go. Shout out Dean Man for making that challenge that was freaking we're not able to solve. And of course if we'd solved that we wouldn't be having this depressing
Oh yeah.
conversation, but we weren't, like, things just didn't line up for whatever reason. And so I think it was good that the team, as an outcome, kind of had to do some retrospection and be like, hey, maybe we should, you know play more CTFs. I think the team has definitely shifted to where you mentioned like individual people do this, right? Where over time, as they get busier and busier,
Mm-hmm.
they focus their time on certain high level CTFs. And this is actually like what I know you have said, this is kind of the death signal of a team, because you play only those top CTFs and maybe you go to DEF CON finals and then one year you don't. And then
Yep.
the next year the team gets so demoralized they don't. And because you don't have that new blood in the team of who are playing CTFs all the time, keeping up on the scene, figuring out what to do. And so I think that could be very easy for a team to fold. I think what's cool about Shellphish, because we have this this competition that we're competing in for AIxCC, there's no way I think, well, assuming, I guess if we qualify for that, then we'll be back on top and we'll be like, yeah, all energized, ready to go. But I've even seen the team now we're, thinking about two things. A, how do we get people to play CTFs more and more? And two, how do we get new people into our team that we know and trust so that we're growing and building the future so that as people start cycling out, I think that's kind of exactly what you talked about, right? As people expire in terms of their ability to play DEF CON quals, whether it's because of family obligations, just because of the date that the thing was on, or things out of their control, like we should be resilient enough to that and not dependent on anything like that.
Yeah, it's this aspect of a team is really tough. I think for a long time, Shellphish had a very interesting, and it's very cool when you can pull it off. This feeling of manifest destiny of like, yeah, of course we'll be there. But I think it's an important reminder
Yes.
that
Yes.
it's that's not kind of a like a destiny guarantee. The overall question of like getting people into CTF is really a tricky one. We, of course, everyone talks about it a lot. Not just getting new people into your CTF team but just getting people into CTF in general. In some sense, this is what our hope was for Pwn College,
Yep.
right? That by creating this very hands-on, practical education platform, it would ramp people up to the point where they could just nicely step into CTF. And I think that
sorry, I want to do something. I hate doing these social media type of things, but I think actually would be very interesting is I have a theory, and I think you do too, and an intuition that actually this is happening, that people are doing Pwn College and into CTF. So if you're out there, you're listening to us, watching this, drop a comment if Pwn College got you into your current CTF team. Like you started with Pwn College and then that led you to doing CTFs, because we'd love to hear about it. Anyways,
that would be really interesting. We had a discussion about this. We had discussions about this on and off for a while into, is this happening, right? So this would be really great to hear this feedback. But we had a recent discussion about it on the Pwn College Discord, in which someone said, actually, Pwn College has me playing fewer CTFs. And here's why, right? Because they play CTF to learn, but they don't actually like the competitive parts of it and so on, or the time pressure. And so they can get the learning hands-on, practical, with flags and everything, the dopamine hit, blah, without the insane time pressure, without the mandatory sleep deprivation, and without the stress. And it's such an interesting unintended effect. And this wasn't just one person that said this. So like, I found it very interesting. And it made me realize that like CTF, almost as much as it is about the ability to learn and so on, it's also about that. Like there's a very interesting competitive aspect to it that I think a lot of people really feed off of, but for a lot of people, they tolerate it because it's a necessary part of it's part of the package through which they learn.
Right, and not just I think not necessarily just the competitiveness, but also the time requirements, like we said, right? It's like I love, like, sometimes I do this. I don't know if I should admit this publicly, but when I'm bored in a meeting, I will like go take a CTF challenge and start like reversing it in IDA. And it's like, it's so much more enjoyable to me than doing it for a CTF because of the time and the time commitment. And it's like, well, if I didn't have those 48 hours or even just 16 hours, right? 8 hours and 8 hours, which is sustainable. Like I got a life on the weekends. I got stuff to do.
So that's been very interesting. I mean, I've done several experiments in this space. I ran that experimental course maybe 2 years ago now, where basically it was all about CTF, right? As for course credit. So part of the course was participating in CTFs, and then part
Mm-hmm.
of it was taking the kind of challenges that you tackled, and then decomposing them and evaluating them from kind of a first principles and fundamentals viewpoint. Um, and so that was an attempt to kind of make CTF uh, kind of educational from a different perspective, where you tackle it, even if you fail, let's figure out how this was solved, and then figure out what the learning process was supposed to be
Right.
for this challenge. And people engage with that didn't maybe normally play CTF a ton. Partially because, there's also grades depending on it. So, you had to do it. And we, I'm trying to think, I mentioned hacker power needed for DEF CON. There's a super secret thing that we're still putting together,
Yeah, don't
Adam and
mention it because
I.
it may not happen. That's, I think, the main
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. And so we'll hold off on mentioning it. But one thing that, as part of of kind of that general effort, one thing that we are thinking about is how do we provide the outlet for people that go through Pone College and are interested in CTF? How do we build that bridge for them to actually start CTFing, right? Without, all sorts of weird situations can happen if you just like choose a bunch of random people online and start CTFing with them. Then you end up in some crazy,
Crazy drama because
controversy.
somebody
And
is like is impersonating people or impersonating even one of our CTF members in another
yeah,
CTF and
exactly.
trying to get right. Yeah, since people are crazy.
Things go wild. And so, how do you provide kind of a nice, stable bridge? Something hopefully we'll be able to talk about soon after this episode launches,
Dope.
and maybe we'll do another episode about it.
Awesome. Cool, man. So yeah, that's, I think, a good place maybe to leave it. So we've
Yeah.
explored 2024, had both the highs of Shellphish and the lows of Shellphish. And actually, I think one of the things you have to start thinking about is like, okay, something bad happens. Like, for instance, we don't qualify for DEF CON. Personally, I start thinking about the good things. Like, hey, maybe I can actually like go to DEF CON, or
Mm-hmm.
like, or
Yeah.
maybe we can actually do a better like CTF radio episode where we visit the teams, right? And we can like interview them while they're doing challenges and stuff. Kind of like what we did last year, but maybe even more, because they'll be willing to talk to us because we have no skin in the game. We're not like actually playing the game at all. Maybe that'll happen. Who knows?
That would be awesome. I'm in. Dude, we should just go and like crash the suites.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
that
like
would be
what
great.
Zeta 2
Hot
did.
tub, oh yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hot tub episode in every suite.
Oh my god. Yeah, actually, I mean, that would be great. Oh god, actually, okay, let me think about that. It's a classic Jan thing. He gets me super amped on an idea, and then I'm like, yeah, let's do it before actually like thinking through all the consequences. But I do actually like that idea. Cool. All right. Great. So thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm Adam D. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Dupay. He's Zardus. You can find him on Mastodon somewhere. Do you know your Mastodon handle off the top of your head?
Yes, man. Come on. You should.
You're
Mastodon handle
clearly
should be the
vamping.
first thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's Zardus, man. On DEF
At
CON.
what? Yeah, defcon.social, I think is the
Yes,
thing.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, but you can, if you really want to converse with him, follow him on Twitter at Zardus. We are CTF Radio. You can find us online on YouTube or Twitter at CTF Radiooo with O's, not zeros. You can send us questions through email, ctfradio 3os at gmail.com, and we may use your questions on a future episode. So yeah, happy to be back. Thanks everyone. Take care and happy hacking.